My name is Cayt W and this is Behind the Remix. I'm a singer, songwriter, music producer from Sheffield, England, and I released my first EP in February 2020. I usually make some strange combination of acoustic music and electric music. I'm not very consistent, I just make whatever I feel like. When I was deciding on which song to use for the remix, I decided to listen to the whole EP through beginning to end, and I love so many of the tracks on that EP, but this one really stood out to me. I think it was because the timing is so strange and interesting, that it sticks in my head as something that you could play around with quite easily. There's a lot of space there. Part of the other reason is it has kind of one of my favourite compositions of a song, which is that the music is quite upbeat, but the lyrics are a little bit melancholic, or I guess you could say it's like hopeful, but a bit drawn back, if you know what I mean. It reminds me of things like the album After Laughter by Paramore is that same sort of style, and I really just love music like that. So what I thought there was a lot of room to take the lyrics, I guess the chordal structure, and then flip it on its head. So I think that my remix sounds a little bit more melancholic musically than the original does, and I like the way that those two things work together. My creative process mostly consisted of listening to the original song, picking out the elements of it that I thought were really interesting, stuff that I could just play around with. I put those out, I put those into Logic, I did a little bit of time shifting, put them into a standard time, and then I threw some instruments at it to see what worked. That's, to be honest, how I write most songs. I kept up with that until I hit a bit of a break, or like a mental block, and then I went back to the original to look for some, new inspiration, some more of the source material to add in, and it's kind of that sort of process until I got the finished piece. I also, in what can only be described as a fit of inspiration, in the last day before my deadline, realised that second to last chorus, before it sort of drops out, needed to be reharmonized. But the whole process couldn't be described as anything other than just trying things out to see how they work. I'm so glad it ended up like it did. My favourite part is that last second to last chorus where it's all reharmonized. I had so much fun. I'm so glad that it worked out well, given that it was a last minute addition. As well as that, I also like the harmonies in the second verse that were brought in from the original. I like the way they sort of pick up that part. And like I say, my music was a little bit more melancholic than the original music was, and I like the way that those upbeat harmonies fit in with the slightly more melancholic music. I love all of them. I've listened to it again in full recently, and there's not a single song on there that I don't think is absolutely genius. I love the first track, Sockjock's track. I think that they did an absolutely brilliant job with that. I love Tarquin's. I've always got to give a little bit of praise to Tarquin's music because she's incredible. But I think I'm gonna say Give Me a Season was my favourite. When I first listened to the whole thing in full, it really took me by surprise. But the way that it melds in with the rest of the tracks, I know that wasn't intentional from the way that he wrote it, because I know how we did it, but it's still it's seamless, if you ask me. And I love the completely different direction that you took the song in. I think it's brilliant. You can find Give Me a Remix on any major streaming services. You can also find my individual remix of Clueless on my Bandcamp, caytwmusic.bandcamp.com. I would so heartily recommend listening to the whole EP through, and the original. I think they're all absolutely incredible. You can find my music under the name Cayt W on any major streaming platform and on Bandcamp. Thank you.